I heard that in this exhibition, students were taking selfies with the labels.
Oh my God, I love it.
And so there you see that sort of pride in what they accomplished, that like that's their hand, that's their interpretation, that's a recording of their experience with the work of art. That is a whole other way of thinking about the impact of a campus museum on the students.
The students in Dr. Scalise's Art History 219, we're going to be doing deep dive research papers on individual prints within this gift that we got. And then my students were going to be thinking about a larger grouping from the gift and thinking about how to make that into an exhibition.
We were thrilled to be informed by Bob Healy and Kay Edgar that they wanted to donate this collection to us. It consisted of about 162 objects, which is a large donation.
To announce a gift of this magnitude with an exhibition that is driven by student learning and faculty research interest, to make that scholarship available for the community as a resource creates this beautiful, virtuous cycle of teaching and learning.
When news of this gift arrived, it was like, this is not exactly my specialty, it's not exactly my research, but it's a comparative interest for me. And so it was really easy to say yes and really easy to get excited about it, because the Taller De Gráfica Popular was an incredible powerhouse of both artistic and political advocacy and activism.
Their interests were the community interests. They were thinking about cultural reform, social reform, political reform, environmental reform, women's rights, all of these issues that are relevant in different ways. The circumstances are different, the location is different, but these are all interests that the Greensboro community shares in different ways that our students care about. And these artists were working to make art part of the conversation.
For us as a staff and for the collection as a whole, it really extended our representation of Latinx artists.
We walked in and we saw them and they were so cool and so well detailed. I just feel like there was so much to talk about right off the bat, that finding out that we were putting all of this together was even more exciting and a little nerve-wracking.
They didn't know that we were going to do this project. You know, the project happened serendipitously sort of over the summer as I was getting ready for class. And so they came in and sat down on the first day, and I looked at them and I said, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to curate a show.
When we saw them initially, they weren't in their frames. They they definitely didn't all match. I know the one that I looked at, which was Hidalgo's Sacrifice. There was like tape residue on it from, I think, an older mat.
And I think they were horror-stricken at first, like eyes got really wide and there was silence. And then the more I talked about it, like you could just see like these twinkles and like the gears turning and this knowledge of like, oh my God, we're gonna do real work.
Part of my research is about interdisciplinary and socially engaged artists in the contemporary United States. And so I actually draw upon that research to inform my own pedagogical practice. And the wonderful thing about being at UNCG is that we have a interdisciplinary and social practice minor and a lot of faculty across the university who also think along those lines.
There were maybe 10 professors involved with that, and they were able to create lesson plans for the exhibition.
Having the project be an open communication-based project helped a lot, because bouncing ideas off of each other with different expertise and different researches definitely helped frame what we were individually working on too.
First off, I looked at what prints both groups did not want to use. So what did you guys all unanimously discard? And I just pulled them out. So those are now gone.
So we started with very broad readings for both classes about the TGP. So grounding them in what are these objects that we're looking at.
Well, she gave us readings and articles, and I think that helped kind of all of us kind of kickstart what the TGP is, what the history of Mexico is like, and because none of us knew anything coming into this class.
For the first couple of weeks of class, Dr. Scalisi's students dove really deep into the research on these individual prints.
So my research ended up being how Hidalgo's image changed over time, and I had to specifically find these examples of like self-referential things, and it was very fun for me. It was very hard to get it to fit in the parameters of this paper.
These prints from the Taller De Gráfica Popular have been written about a great deal, and there's a lot that students were able to read. But we also have works within this collection that came to us that have not been written about in great depth. And so some of the students were doing original research there, and they knew it, and their peers knew it. And so that becomes really exciting and gets everyone realizing, like, not only can we do the work of putting the show together and sharing it, but we're doing the really foundational work of discovering things about these objects.
I also had many and multiple different discussions with Dr. Scalisi because mine being focused in Mexico, the United States, and Cuba, and trying to decide which one to focus on in one paper, and also what to research as far as explaining the print, just with the necessities had to do, there was like a lot of fine tuning.
My students were drawing upon the knowledge of Dr. Staley and her students and the staff at the Weatherspoon, and they were learning through like the embodied practical experiential knowledge that they were gaining.
Compliant spacecraft, so it's going to have to come out.
Do you think we could do this over here and then have like a text tab referencing these?
Yes,
If we wanted to include more
or I don't even know that it necessarily has to come that far out.
But this is agriculture. This is broke up with oil.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But then we could
What if, hear me out,
do
what
the oil with
I mean, so we did certain things where we were writing stuff out in class while sitting in the gallery. You know, we worked in a model with all of the works of art as we were going to lay them out. That was our absolute favorite. You know, when we pulled those models out, oh my, those were the other moments where we just couldn't sort of pull them away to get them to wrap up class on time.
Let's be honest, I like coast through things just to get an assignment grade sometimes.
Yeah.
And I felt like the fact that this work is going to be showcased to so many people within a gallery space, I think it encouraged me to actually like care about the research and what I was learning and the history of Mexico. And I felt like I found a love for the Mexican history and all these prints that I don't think I would have if it wasn't going to be a part of a gallery.
Life happens, other courses pop up, there are other demands on students. And so I'm very used to, there are moments when a student just isn't going to make it this week or isn't going to make this class or something like that. And that didn't happen in this class.
That's one of the great beauties of being at a public institution, of being at a place where that commitment is not just possible, but part of the reason for being here.